The Goodwins, a poor family from California, were humiliated in a fancy restaurant by a millionaire who was dining there. What no one expected was a simple waitress did upon observing the situation, leaving everyone in the restaurant in shock. Unfortunately, there are people in the world who treat others disrespectfully because they believe, for one reason or another, that they are better than them. Today's touching story might have been another example of such a situation. However, the way events unfolded surprised many people, as the actions of a courageous waitress turned her into a hero overnight. A young woman named Jenica Cortron was working in a prestigious fine dining restaurant in Silicon Valley. After working there for a year, she had seen many rich, successful businessmen come in and spend their money with little concern for the cost. Despite this, she said that they were all generally nice people who always asked how she was doing and even helped her out by giving advice and leaving her generous tips. However, one day, a commotion broke out in the restaurant. The evening began like any other night, with nothing indicating the possibility of trouble. There was background music playing as usual, and a gentle breeze was blowing. Jenica happily served the customers with a smile. On the other side of town, the Goodwin family was preparing for a night out. Being of modest means, this was quite unusual for them, definitely not their normal routine. The eldest son had just been accepted into one of the country's most prestigious colleges, and his father was taking the family out to celebrate. He planned to spend his meager savings on a special dinner in one of the most expensive restaurants in town. Joseph Goodwin did not share these plans with his family because he wanted it to be a surprise. He just told them to be ready to celebrate that Saturday night. The Goodwins' home was an unpretentious part of town, far from the restaurant, and they were excited when they left the house and plenty of time for the nearly 2-hour bus ride needed to get to the fancy restaurant. The two brothers, Samuel and Luke, were looking forward to the surprise, but their mother was not quite so happy. "I know this is a great accomplishment for our son and a milestone in our family, but please don't bite off more than you could chew," she said to her husband. Joseph just smiled, saying that he had been dreaming of this day for years and was well prepared. When they arrived at the restaurant, Joseph, the head of the family, revealed the surprise, telling them they would have the best dinner of their lives. They went in, and their waitress Jenica took them to their reserved table. At that moment, the family couldn't possibly know the effect that going to this restaurant would have on their lives. Although they initially felt a little out of place in this upscale environment, Jenica made sure to make them completely comfortable. The children seemed happy and delighted to be there, so their dad knew he had made the right choice. 20 minutes later, a tall, wealthy man came into the restaurant and sat down at his table. He was a frequent customer there and usually tipped the waitress and even the manager well. His table was only a few feet away from Joseph and his family, who by now were enjoying a delicious appetizer. But unfortunately, this peaceful and pleasant environment was not going to remain so for long. The wealthy customer was Michael Lofthouse, and his date looked like she could be a top model. Wanting to impress her, Michael ordered the most expensive wine on the menu. Then, he brusquely told his waiter to pay close attention to their order, claiming that he was known to the chef and would not tolerate mistakes. "If you do exactly what I ask, you will be rewarded with a hefty tip at the end of the night," the man said. The fact is that, unlike most of the restaurant's customers, the millionaire was not an easy person to deal with. From the moment Michael saw the simple Goodwin family in the restaurant, the tenor of the evening changed. No one knows for sure why, but he seemed unable to enjoy his dinner or his company. He kept staring at the family and appeared to be visibly annoyed by their presence there. He paid close attention to the food they were served, checking the prices on the menu while offensively making jokes to his date. Everyone could see that he was irritated by the presence of a simple family in the same place he had chosen to impress this beautiful woman. He even loudly announced that such people should not be allowed in the restaurant, and if they were, he would never go there again. Things only got worse when Samuel, Luke's 16-year-old brother, heard the rich man's insults. He showed his contempt by blatantly acting as if he didn't even exist, while also mocking the millionaire's surreal lack of composure. Upon noticing this, the man began to insult the family directly, even going so far as making rude hand gestures. It seemed that Luke's celebration was completely ruined. The Goodwin family watched the back and forth nervously and were already preparing to leave the restaurant when fate intervened. It was at this point that Jenica, the waitress, decided to act. Noticing that Joseph and his family were about to leave, she put her hand on Luke's shoulder and apologized for what was happening. She invited them to sit down again, saying she would resolve everything. She went over to Michael and tried to convince him to behave respectfully. She knew she was putting her much-needed job at risk by defending the poor family in front of a wealthy and loyal restaurant customer. But she simply cannot watch this unfortunate scene continue without doing something about it. However, when Michael saw her approaching his table, he asked how people like that could be allowed in. "My dear, is there a promotion today? Or was there some kind of coupon given out?" he asked rudely. "Well, honestly, it doesn't matter. Please ask the chef to come out here. I need to speak with him right now. I am a loyal customer here, and I am sure he will respond to me," Michael demanded. The waitress took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She said that she would not call the chef. Michael then stood up and began to make a scene. For Jenica, that was the last straw. Everyone in the restaurant watched as a simple waitress confronted a millionaire, finally saying what he really needed to hear. She defended the family and their right to remain in the restaurant, asking Michael to leave immediately, saying he was no longer welcome there. Michael was shocked. He was not used to being contradicted like that, and he was incensed. His usual interactions were with people who flattered him and obeyed his orders, expecting to be rewarded. He was not going to let this go unpunished, and he started yelling at the young waitress. At this moment, Joseph's youngest son took out his cell phone and started videoing the whole situation. He had already taken some pictures of Michael, figuring that they would be useful at some point too. When the millionaire realized that he was being videoed, he was not at all intimidated. Instead, he continued cursing the Goodwin family while making a point of looking directly into the camera. After about 10 minutes, he realized that he was being chastised not only by the family and the waitress, but by the entire restaurant. He got up angrily, put on his coat, and left without even paying his bill. The owner of the restaurant was summoned to the scene. After Jenica explained the situation to her boss, he commended her for her attitude, saying that this type of person was certainly not welcome in his restaurant. The owner also asked her to show him who the family was and where they were sitting. "I apologize that you have been treated this way in my restaurant, and I assure you that it will not happen again," he said to them warmly. "I would like to invite you to come back for another dinner next week without having to worry about paying this bill or the next one. I apologize again and hope that you will still be able to enjoy your celebration." Upon hearing the restaurant owner's words, the Goodwin family immediately became more comfortable but insisted that, despite his hospitable offer, they would pay the bill anyway. Joseph's youngest son posted the video on social media and publicly thanked the waitress for her help. After only a few days, the video had been seen by a huge number of people. The story went viral, and the names of the people involved were exposed. Michael Lofthouse, the millionaire who founded a large technology company, was forced to delete his social network accounts after receiving angry messages from hundreds of people. He posted a video apologizing to the family for his behavior, adding that he respects people of all races and classes, but he was drunk and said things without thinking. He's now facing lawsuits, and his company has lost a significant value as a result of this event. He was even forced by shareholders to step down from his role in the company. As for the waitress who stood up for Joseph and his family, an online crowdfunding campaign was set up to thank her. After only a few days, over $50,000 had been raised, and the amount is still growing. Jenica is confident that she behaved appropriately and said in a statement that no one has the right to insult you just because of how you look or how much money you have in the bank. She ended by saying that she just did what any person would do in that situation. If you like the video, please leave a like. And this next story that is appearing on the screen now will probably move you too. Have a good day, and see you in the next video.